everybody. I'm Jared Pike. This is Shell Point Today for the weekend of April 11th, 12th, and 13th. On today's show, we learn about a Health Connection class educating people about varicose vein treatment. But first, a quick rundown of the events you need to know about. The Shell Point Veterans Club meets Friday morning at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. All fans of iPads and iPhones are encouraged to attend the Apple Users Group, meeting Friday at 1:30 p.m. in the Woodlands Oak Room. All techies are welcome. Pavilion Auxiliary volunteers, we are having a tea in your honor. It starts at 1:30 p.m. Friday in the church auditorium, so be there. Saturday, the Shell Point Walking Club is off on another expedition, this time walking the outdoor trails of Florida Gulf Coast University. If you're up for a 3-mile or a 5-mile hike, then join the carpool on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. at the Administration Circle on the island. Also Saturday morning, the Computer College kicks into gear with a get-together in the Grand Cypress Room. Not only can you meet the instructors and learn what computer college classes are right for you, but you'll also get to experience the brand new computers being installed in the computer labs at Shell Point. All are welcome to the Computer College Get-Together, Saturday at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. Then, Sunday in the Grand Cypress, join us for the 1948 version of Shakespeare's Hamlet, starring Laurence Olivier. It plays Sunday at 2:30 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. And on Tuesday, we welcome guests from Radiology Regional Center to talk about varicose veins. It helps to have a perspective not just on the health issues, but also the aesthetic issues. Come learn more at a Health Connection event Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the Woodlands Oak Room. Here is a preview.
I'm Mary Franklin here with Bonnie Levine from Radiology Regional Center. We have an upcoming program taking place in the Oak Room on Tuesday, April 15th at 2 p.m. The subject is varicose veins and aesthetics. It's going to be a great presentation including questions and answers. So let's learn a little bit more about Bonnie and what her presentation is going to be all about. Bonnie, thank you for being here today.
You're so welcome.
So Bonnie, tell us all about you. Where did you do your study work? Where are you from? And a little bit about Radiology Regional as well.
Sure. It's really interesting. Actually, I'm from a hometown of Weberville, Michigan, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's very close to East Lansing, and so I did attend Michigan State University as well as the University of Florida because I don't like cold weather. My bachelor's and master's are both from the University of Florida in nursing, and I am a advanced registered nurse practitioner with specialization in women's health care. I spent the last 15 years doing women's health care, OBGYN, as well as aesthetics and some vein treatments.
Okay.
I've been with Radiology Regional now for approximately a year. Many of you may have heard of them. They've been in business for 50 years, and they're the third largest company for radiology in the nation, which is to our benefit because we're not only a great company, but we have multiple access areas. We have 7 locations, and because we have large buying power, we have really good pricing in everything that we do.
Oh, great. Well, I think our residents will be really interested to hear about the wide variety of topics you're going to touch on, because you're going to touch on varicose veins, spider veins, 2 different things there, sun and age spots, and wrinkle fillers. And so some of these are cosmetic,
Sure.
Of course, wrinkle fillers, but varicose veins and spider veins, there could be underlying issues going on, right?
Typically, when you have a varicose vein, you actually do have an underlying issue, and many times it's interesting, we're so tough and we're so used to it that we don't often notice, but if you really think about it, you may notice that as the day progresses, your legs are achy and you find it difficult to get through your golf game or your activities of the day. Late stage age, you'll have discoloration where your legs may turn brown or even black or even ulcerate, particularly down near the ankles. This is a sign of something we call venous insufficiency. It means that the blood is not coming back towards your heart and lungs, and instead it's kind of pooling down in the bottom of your legs, causing you discomfort, and you may even have restless leg syndrome. Severe cramping that wakes you up in the middle of the night is something we hear often. And so the varicose veins are the surface problem. It's what you can see, but underneath there's actually a true medical problem that is covered by almost all insurances, including Medicare. And we can resolve the problem in 2 hours in our office.
Some of these other things, the age spots and the wrinkle fillers, I guess most commonly on your face or your hands and so forth?
Absolutely. One of the things that makes you age a lot is the quality of your skin. So even though you may feel young on the inside, if you have had a lot of sun exposure during your lifetime, you'll have a lot of sun damage. And so some of our treatments involve putting a topical aesthetic cream on your face because we care very much about your comfort. And we put that on for about 30 minutes prior, and then we have a nice laser that actually will remove those spots in 1 to 2 treatments at a very affordable price.
Well, you're going to cover some great topics because I know our residents, a lot of them, and even me, when I get done running, I can see that varicose vein popping out.
Yes.
They deal with these issues, so it will be very informative, and with your expertise and Radiology Regional behind you, I know it's going to be a great presentation.
Thank you so much. We're very excited to be here.
Well, this presentation will take place on Tuesday, April 15th at 2 p.m. in the Oak Room, and you can sign up at either of the service desks. I'm Mary Franklin with the Health Connection. Make it a happy and healthy day.
We are replaying some of the week's best stories from Shell Point TV. But before we do that, let's cover all of this weekend's happenings, menus, and church news.
It is the weekend edition of Happening segment of Shell Point TV. My name is Leslie Brand, and I'm here with Bev Chanley. And we are here to tell you the activities that Resort Services is offering that are for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to start with Friday, April 11th at 8 o'clock, men's match play doubles tennis at the tennis courts. 8:15, stamp ministry in the stamp room on the island. 8:30 is the marketplace in the administration courtyard. It goes until 11:30. 10 o'clock, canasta in the game room. Men's match play doubles tennis will be at 10 o'clock at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. 10 o'clock, the Veterans Club meeting will meet in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. 10:15, genealogy will be in the Osprey Room. Inquiring Minds will meet at 10:15 in the Manatee Room. Susie Q is going out to Lighthouse Restaurant for lunch at 10:30. Sign up is required. 12:30 is the Mixed Progressive Bridge in the game room of the Woodlands. 1:15, table tennis in the Tarpon Room. Also at 1:15 is Quilters in the Osprey Room on the island. 1:30, the Model Train Room will meet at the train room down in the tunnel. The tours will start from 1:30 and end at 3:30. There will be a pavilion volunteer tea at 1:30 in the Village Church. Vespers will be in the community room of the Arbor at 1:30. The Apple Group will be meeting in the Oak Room at 1:30 at the Woodlands. 2 o'clock, Bid Euchre will be in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. 2:45, we have Vespers in the community room of King's Crown. And also we have Vespers at 3:30, but at the Springs. And 6 o'clock, Everblades Hockey Night in Florida. The court pickups will start at 6 o'clock on the island, 6:10 at the Woodlands, and 6:20 at Eagles Preserve. Sign up is required at either service desk. And we'll end Friday night at 6:45 with game night, and it will be in the Osprey Room on the island. Now here's Bev for the Saturday activities.
Thanks, Leslie. The weekends continue with lots of activities. We'll start at 8 o'clock this Saturday morning with round-robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. At 8 o'clock, we have the Shell Point Walking Club. They meet at the administration courtyard to head out for their adventurous walk today. At 9 o'clock, we have pickleball being played at the pickleball court. We'll move to 9:30 for the women's doubles tennis at the Woodlands Tennis Courts. Duplicate bridge will be down in the Manatee Room at 9:45. At 10 o'clock, we have the Information Forum Computer College Get-Together. That'll be in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 10:15, you'll find the Model Yacht Sailing Club at the Garden Apartment Pond sailing their boats. We'll move to the afternoon for 1 o'clock chess game. That's in the Library Lounge at the Resident Activity Center. And then 1:15, table tennis will be down in the Tarpon Room. That'll be open all weekend unless it's posted otherwise. At 2 o'clock, we have the Saturday DVD, Oz, Great and Powerful. It's a 2013 film that's shown in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. Basic line dancing will be down in the Health Club at 3:15, and we'll jump all the way to 6:30 where Duplicate Bridge will be in the Manatee Room. The last activity of our Saturday is 7 o'clock, DVD, Oz, the Great and Powerful will be in the Grand Cypress Room for the second showing. Now here's Leslie for the Sunday activities.
Thank you, Bev. It is Palm Sunday, and the Shaw Point Photo Show continues this week through Monday, April 21st. We're going to start at 9 o'clock with the Christian Life Studies in the Game Room of the Woodlands. 9:15, Christian Life Studies will be in the Village Church. 10:15, the morning worship will be in the Village Church on the island, and it will also be broadcasted live on Shaw Point TV, Channel 12. 1:30, the Mixed Golf League will be at the Shell Point Golf Club. And 2:30, we have Sunday Matinee, Hamlet, and it's a 1948 film, and it will be in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. 3:15, Ballroom Line Dancing for Beginners will be in the Health Club on the island. And at 6:15, we're going to end Sunday with evening service at the Village Church on the island. Thank you for tuning in with us, the happening segment of Shell Point TV of the weekend edition. We hope you have a busy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll see you back here on Monday morning.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is battered cod with wedge-cut potatoes and buttered peas. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $15.95, and the soup of the day is cream of mushroom. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Friday, the special is a seafood schooner on an English muffin with chips for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Friday are lamb chops for $22.95 or Florida lobster tails for $22.95. And on Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, the special is a pulled pork sandwich with coleslaw for $7.25. The dinner special is stuffed bell peppers with baked potato and mixed vegetables for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill on Saturday are prime rib for $19.95 or baked cod for $16.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, the special is an Alpine chicken sandwich with fries for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins. I'm the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here with Glenda Stephenson, who's our church administrator. And this is Palm Sunday weekend. We have a lot going on, don't we?
We do. It's going to be a very full service. It's one of my favorite Sundays of the year, by the way.
Of course it is. It's the beginning of Holy Week, and so we have a lot to look forward to as the week unfolds. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's look at what's going to happen on Sunday.
Well, let me first mention this is the last to bring in food as part of our food drive. So as folks come in, they may want to come carrying a can of something that will benefit the food pantry here in Southwest Fort Myers. But then once we talk about the service, I love the processional on Palm Sunday. The choir comes in from the back waving palm branches. We'll all have palm branches to join with them and shout our hosannas and just praise the Lord. So that's always a real highlight for me. And then this particular week, we're taking in some new members.
That's right.
And we love to do that. It's an opportunity for us to welcome others into our fellowship. I know choir will be singing. I believe they're singing No Not One, which is a familiar hymn to many of us. And you'll be preaching probably something appropriate for Palm Sunday. What are you sharing?
Indeed we will. Obviously, we don't want to miss an opportunity when we have Holy Week services to really connect with those occasions. Obviously, Christians all over the world want to celebrate these kinds of events, and rightly so. And so Palm Sunday is no different. Now, we've been in a study on the book of Hebrews, and so we're sort of taking a break from that for this week and next week for Easter. But the book of Hebrews makes an interesting connection with Jesus Jesus' priestly ministry as well as his kingship that we're going to call attention to, because it really puts Palm Sunday in its proper perspective, and I really love that kind of connection. So we'll stick with Hebrews a little bit, but we'll also talk about the events of that day as they unfolded.
Then Sunday night, tell us a little bit about what you're sharing Sunday night.
Well, because it's part of the Holy Week celebration, I thought what we do on Sunday evening is I'm going to be teaching about the week that the Holy Week itself for Jesus, what activities he participated in as he went to the cross. It's an interesting survey of what Jesus actually did, and some very teachable moments that we'll discover in the things that Jesus did throughout the week. And so the message is entitled Toward the Cross, and it's a record of the things that Jesus did during Holy Week leading up to the crucifixion.
That sounds very helpful. There were a lot of events recorded during that week, and Jesus touched a lot of lives.
That's right.
That final week. It'll be a wonderful Sunday. We invite you to join us this Palm Sunday as we begin Holy Week together. Sunday morning at 10:15, Sunday night at 6:15. Love to see you there. And have a great day.
It's time for our Shell Point TV Week in Review. And we began this week discussing the Shell Point Photo Show, now happening in the Resident Activities Center.
Hi Shell Point, I'm Melody Desolé, joined today with two very special people, Dottie Morrison and Herb Sklar. And we're here today to talk about the Photo Show Gala. Dottie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure.
So what are the ribbons? Is it first, second, and third?
Yes, for each category there's first, second, and third. In the larger categories we often also award the honorable mention, but that's up to the judges.
And how many categories are represented?
We have 12 categories. In addition to that, we have a juried show that is not judged by the judges. No ribbons are awarded, and at that time people can also enjoy those photographs.
Now, Herb.
Yes, ma'am.
We have the second annual Ted Boynton Award.
Yeah.
Can you tell those who may not know what that is, what it's all about?
Well, Ted Boynton was very instrumental in keeping the photo show alive and building it, and we honor him by having this award. But it was also last year the first time we ever did Best of Show, and that's what the Ted Boynton Award is about, Best of Show. So this will be the second time we will have Best of Show, and we're going to have another little new category, not a category, but a new award. In the non-jury category, we don't give ribbons, but we are going to have Best of Show in non-juried.
So this Ted Boynton Award goes beyond what Dottie had described with the ribbons, correct?
Oh, sure. It's for the best photo in the show.
Now, can you tell me about the judging process? How do we find the judge, and how do we have an unbiased view of all the different pictures?
Well, I think the most important thing that the judge is never a Shell Point resident, because even if you try to be very fair, you still know the photographers, you know their work, you might have seen the photographs. So we go outside and we try to find somebody who's very knowledgeable in photography. And that's what we did last year, and we'll do that this year. This year we may have two judges, I don't know yet, but both of them are qualified and they know a lot about photography, and they don't know any of the Shell Point people. You'll be the only one who knows who that is, and you will read that on the day of the evening of the show. So that's going to be kind of exciting. It's a little like the Academy Awards of Shell Point.
So Herb, if someone is interested in improving their photography based on what they saw at the show, and perhaps they want to participate in the future, what resources does Shell Point have for them?
I think the best is the Photo Club. It meets once a month, and we critique photographs, and there's always somebody there after the meeting who'll be very happy to sit down with you and answer any of your questions and help you with your cameras. And occasionally I do a lecture and especially class during the year.
Gary Keating at the Shell Point Golf Club showed us how to execute the perfect flop shot.
Hi, welcome to Gary Keating at Shell Point Golf Academy. The things we're going to discuss today is basically a little flop shot around the green. The biggest culprits I see with the flop shot is number one is the address position. Most players have the handle leading way forward. When the club goes way forward, the bounce of the club is not effective. What we're looking for is this part of the golf club is what we call a bounce. We need to use this as actually your friend when we play golf. If we take the handle and forward press the handle, you'll see the leading edge is lower than the bounce. So when the handle's way forward, I'm going to show you the culprit in most golf shots. So we're going to push the handle way forward, and you'll see the error in my chipping shot. As you can see, the leading edge sticks in very abruptly. Most of the times we hit the turf too quick. Good ball position, basically 3 inches off the inside left heel, and we always want the butt of the club, which is the top of the grip, always in the center of the belly. Having said so, once we do that, the most important thing when we chip is to basically have two things: club head acceleration and basically minimize the motion of our legs. So we're going to show you a good chip right now. You'll notice the butt of the club straight up and down. Okay, the bounce of the club is exposed. And we're just going to keep the legs nice and still. And we have success. I hope you enjoyed this golf tip. You can contact me at shellpointgolf.com or the phone number 239-433-9790. Thank you.
We're looking for cool cars for our Route 66 Variety Show coming to Shell Point on April 29th. What exactly qualifies as a cool car? Well, this one, for example.
Susan Cleaver of Parkwood is a car lover. For her first car, she started out big.
It was a 1956 Buick. It was red with a black top. It was the biggest thing I ever saw in my life.
Susan has owned 5 Corvettes, but it was time for something different.
A big sedan is too much car for me to handle and park at this point. And a sports car is nice. I had Corvettes, but they're hard to get in and out of.
Many in the automotive press consider the BMW 3 Series to be the best sports sedan built today. It has won more awards than its trunk can hold, according to U.S. News & World Report. It has been one of Car and Driver's 10 best for 19 consecutive years. No other car has done that.
Well, I knew that the Corvette I had, which was a 2004, was a convertible, and the top was not in the best of conditions, and I was about to have to replace the rear tires. And those were expensive tires. So I started to look around. I didn't know what to get. And I ended up going to the BMW dealership, and they had this one, and I bought it.
The BMW competes in the luxury car market, but among its peers, it is tuned more for performance driving than for a cushy ride.
I have a 2007 BMW 328i hardtop convertible.
The 3 Series is renowned for its outstanding handling qualities. The weight is balanced to almost perfect 50-50 proportion between the front and rear wheels.
It's a sporty car, and it's the right size. It's not too big. It's red. Really red.
The red colors certainly get some attention.
It's a fun car to drive. I got a speeding ticket in it. I would have taken another color, but this is the only one they had with the convertible top.
New in 2007, the folding hardtop convertible is an engineering marvel.
It goes up and down in 22 seconds. And there it goes. And it's down. See, it's really remarkable how they do it.
That was so cool, I want to see it again.
Okay. When it rains down here, it rains, and it doesn't leak. And I've got a regular hardtop car in the event of high winds, too. It is enjoyable, but down here it's more difficult because it's hotter. So I end up with the top up more than down, and you have to plan ahead because if it's going to rain, you can't put this top up when the car is moving. at all. And I guess you couldn't with any convertible, I don't know.
The folding hardtop does present a few complications.
You can't put the top down unless that's down, because that holds the top. And you dare not put anything on either side because you'll get squashed. So with this down, you haven't got much trunk, but they've allowed you to move it up out of the way. So for me, that's fine.
It does have a back seat?
Yes, if you're a midget.
Like many convertibles, back seat space is compromised, but a folding seat back and trunk pass-through do provide some flexibility for hauling cargo.
They have put some kind of a cover, something on this, some procedure they do, that the leather does not get hot when you sit on it. I mean, you can touch it anytime, but you can't touch the dashboard because they don't have it on that. So I don't have to worry about it. I can get in and not burn myself to death.
The high-tech leather treatment can reduce the temperature in the sun by as much as 68 degrees.
That's the iDrive. That controls all the things up here. They've made it a typical German. They've made it too complicated. But I can control the CDs and the radio and all that.
Whenever the wind blows this way.
I have a navigation thing on here. It needs to be driven because it's got something over 100 computers in it.
They don't call BMW the ultimate driving machine for nothing.
And I like convertibles, and this was the best way I knew to get one. It's a 6-cylinder. No, it's not as powerful as my Corvette was, but it does all right. It moves right along.
If you've got a cool car you're willing to show off at the Route 66 Variety Show, then please call Leslie Brand at 454-2057. Here's another cool vehicle, this one with 2 wheels.
Well, I'm Norm Arnold, and I live in Tulladora Court, along with my wife, Grace.
I'm Grace Arnold, and I also live in Tulladora Court.
We've been at Shell Point for about a little over 10 years now.
Well, while we were in Cleveland, we also had mopeds, and they were a fun thing to ride around. And so when we got down here, we found out we could have these scooters which did not use the gasoline like the mopeds did, and we felt we're not having the smell to go along with it. So when we saw these, we just thought this would be ideal for here.
One of our sons had seen these in a internet where he was buying a part for his daughter's scooter, and he suggested that we look into this, knowing that this could constitute the poor man's golf cart in Shell Point. So we just felt that it would be something proper, and we have been doing this now probably for 5 or 6 years. The scooter that we presently have is a Schwinn, and it's just a battery pack that fits into the floorboard of it. The previous scooter that we had, and we wore one out after about 5 years, it contained 2 batteries similar to what the people here use in the motorized wheelchairs, or the little scooters as they call them. And we bought the wheels, the tires, and the batteries from the same place. I would say probably the most fun part is the reactions of people when they see us riding it. When Grace rides it, and she can hardly ever get back home without being stopped several times by people wanting to know what this gray-haired lady is doing riding around on a scooter.
Ruth Duber celebrated her 150th episode of What's Cooking.
Hi, I'm Ruth Duber, and this is What's Cooking at Shell Point. and this is a special show today. I have Dee Dee Darcy with me, who's been on many of the shows, and we've done special shows for other occasions. But this is special to me because this is my 150th show. And I've asked a few of the cooks that have been on with me in the past, and I think you ought to introduce yourselves. If you remember one dish that you made, tell me what it was.
I'm Ellen Crouch, and I made a dish, cake with lemon filling. It was called daffodil cake.
Eleanor Perkins. I think the first one I did was the apple dumpling.
That's right. And this is my butter lady. I call her that because, she's so tiny, but she cooks with butter all the time.
That's Southern cooking. You got to have butter.
And I'm Gos Goslin, and I did several dishes. One of my favorites was the garlic bread, and I had it, but I never tried it at home, I must confess. But it came out great.
I'm Barbara Milligan, and I guess I cook Texas goulash. I'm from Houston, Texas.
That tells it right there. The first recipe that we're going to do, pork tenderloin, and it's Frito-style pork tenderloin, and this is actually a Cuban dish. We're going to make the sofrito sauce first, and we'll do that over here where the blender is and all the spices that go in it. The sauce that I'm making is for one pork tenderloin. When we put it up on the website, all the ingredients will be for 2 pork tenderloins. So in the blender, I already have a half a cup of green peppers, 2 tablespoons of onion, and I've used the red onion. And now we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and 1 tablespoon of cilantro, and a half a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and a half a teaspoon of salt. And this is where you can use how much ever you like. If you like red peppers, it's the crushed red pepper. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon. If you're brave and you want more than that, you can certainly add it. There's no problem. The first thing I want to talk about is how you prepare your pork tenderloin. I know when Dee Dee and I did the show, I mentioned taking off the silver skin that's on the pork tenderloin. That really is important because it can be really tough if you bite into that silver skin. So I remove that, and I remove any extra fat that's on that. And then what you want to do is cut some tiny slits. You don't want to go too deep. About that far apart. Now this is where you get your hands into it. This is your sofrito sauce. Now the recipe does say that it should be chilled for at least an hour or overnight. And I like to do it overnight because the flavors just blend better. I like to use an electric skillet because I can control the temperature better. We're going to sear it. We'll use just a little bit of olive oil in the bottom. Again, I wish we had smell-o-vision. You want to put it in, like a cookie sheet if you're doing 2 tenderloins, and just a smaller pan. And I prefer to line it with these Reynolds non-stick. Okay, then this goes into a 425 degree oven, and it should bake for about 15 minutes. You really want to try it with a meat thermometer, and it should be up to 165. And so now we're going to show Dee Dee. She's going to do the next thing that we did at the show. And that's the Caribbean black beans and rice.
When I cook this recipe, I usually make it for a crowd. So it's kind of a visual thing, how much green pepper, how much, or a red pepper, how much green onion. But I'm going to try to follow it exactly as it's written. So we have 1 can of black beans, and I've drained those. Now when I drain it, I don't run water over them because it's the juice that the beans come in is good. So I dip it in the strainer and then just put a little water in the can and just quickly rinse that. So you can see that the black beans do have a little bit of the juice that the can came in. And then I used a cup and a quarter of rice. The recipe calls for white rice. I like saffron rice. And you can get that at the grocery store very easily. It's in with all the rice and beans. Calls for 3/4 cups of green onion chopped. And the recipe actually calls for 3/4 of a cup of yellow pepper and red pepper chopped. But since we're using the yellow rice, I always use the red pepper. If you prefer the white rice, then by all means use any color pepper you want. And then, again, mix it up. This is something that I've discovered. I'm getting arthritis in my wrists. Over at Tanger, a little commercial plug, they have these salt and pepper shakers that you just push the button and you grind the sea salt and you grind the pepper. They're wonderful. They're absolutely perfect. It's a pretty color. This is also, you can serve it cold as a salad. You can serve it room temperature. And you can also, if you want, you can put it in the microwave and warm it up as a hot side dish. It's a versatile recipe. Then for the dressing, 1/2 cup of olive oil, which is this. And I poured that into 1/4 cup of cider vinegar. I'm lazy, so anytime anything calls for garlic, I use this product, which you can get in the produce section of any grocery store. And it is minced, squeezable garlic. 1 teaspoon of cumin. When we were looking for recipes in the show, for the show on the internet, one of the sites said that just anytime you want an island or Cuban flavor, just use a lot of cumin, which we just did. Now I like to put the dressing on and stir it up. Sometimes it can have too much dressing and it's too oily. So again, you do it by look. And Cuban cooking is not spicy hot. It can be, but it isn't necessarily spicy hot. And there you go. There it is. Cold, room temperature, or warmed up. It's a great side dish. And I did not use all of the dressing. This is a to die for cake. I went ahead and made it ahead of time. This cake is versatile. You can make it a week ahead and freeze it. It thaws wonderfully. It's a very moist, dense cake because you've got, again, easy cooking. You start with a yellow cake mix and you add a package of the instant lemon pudding, 4 eggs, 1/4 cup of cold water, and 1/2 cup of limeade. And in the store you can buy limeade in the can in the frozen section. It's like the old-fashioned orange juice where you dump the limeade in and then add 3 cans of water. When I'm making it for this cake, I don't put quite as much water. I want the limeade flavor to kind of overpower you. Some vegetable oil and then 2 tablespoons of grated lime. Usually 2 tablespoons is 1 lime. So when you're looking at a recipe, that's what it is. You bake it, take it out, cool it for 10 minutes, and then while it's baking and cooling, you make the glaze, which is 1/4 pound or 1 stick of butter, another 1/2 cup of limeade, 1 cup sugar, and 2 tablespoons of grated lime. Once the cake cools, I am overly zealous when it comes to putting toothpick holes in it. So there are lots of toothpick holes, and it's a hint, it's a liquid glaze. So when you are pouring the glaze over the cake, put cans of beans underneath it because it's going to run over, and it just makes it easier to clean up if whatever excess it just runs over. I also usually end up with, in the center of the cake, there's a little well of the glaze, and you just kind of get rid of it by scooping it back up onto the cake. This cake actually was made 3 days ago, and I froze it, and it should be perfect today. So, Ruth, are you ready for your pork?
Yeah, we're going to show the pork here, and you'll see that it is just a little bit pink, and I think it's so easy to overcook pork. So don't do that. Don't overcook it. So there's our pork. Here's Dee Dee's beans, the cake. Now all my guests and I are going to have a good lunch, including the camera guys. So look for the recipes on the website. Thank you all for coming and helping me celebrate my 150th show. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Phil Steen of Coquina has owned some cool cars in his life. I asked him to share some of the highlights.
When did your love affair with cars first start? What was your first recollection of cars, automobiles?
A neighbor up the street who was a car salesman, he had a new Chevrolet, which was everybody's eyes were on, because in those days, most of us, my parents didn't even have a car, and many people didn't, or if they did, it was an old thing, and I used to look at these shiny cars. But I lived in not a high-class neighborhood where people drove limousines or anything. We just drove Fords or whatever.
Do you remember your first car when you were a teenager?
Yes. Well, my first car when I was a teenager I bought before I was old enough to drive. I had a job in a grocery store part-time, and I bought a 1929 Ford Coupe from one of the other employees in the store, and I paid $15 for it. I drove it home, and I used it for a year. My parents didn't have a car, so it was our family car.
Wow. You've brought with you some pictures of cars you've collected over the years, cars you've owned and restored. What are some of the highlights?
This is a 1937 Packard 12-cylinder town car limousine. You can see the front compartment is open where the chauffeur would sit. Then there's a glass between the two sections. And this is the car after it was finished. That first picture was the car before, and this is the car after it was finished.
All right, tell me about this Stanley steamer here.
Okay, this car is this is a 1911 Stanley steamer. They made two sizes, a 10 horsepower and a 20 horsepower. This is a 20 horsepower, and it has the boiler is under the hood, and the engine is in the back. The steam engine is in the back, connected right to the back axle. You don't need a transmission in a steam car. All the power that's available from the engine is available from any speed at all, from dead stop right on up. And
how would you fuel a car like this?
This car, the fuel for the main burner was kerosene. Supposedly as clear as you can get it to keep it from getting dirty in there. It had also a pilot burner. The main burner went on and off as the car needed steam. They had a little pilot burner which used pure gasoline, like an unleaded gasoline, and that was on all the time. And then when the call for steam, the main burner would come on, and that would light it, and it would go. The car used 1 gallon of water per mile. Steam. It had a 40-gallon tank, so after 35 miles or so, you better start looking for water.
So yeah, you didn't go out in the country to drive.
Well, the cars there was a hose underneath of the one running board, and there was a pump on the car. You could put the hose. The manual, which came with the car in 1911, said you just pull up the nearest horse watering trough and throw the hose in, and it's filled up. Not too many of them around anymore, so. Wow. It was a fun car to have and to drive. It took 45 minutes to start it from dead cold before you could start to move it.
So you really had to be dedicated.
Which is one reason that they disappeared off the market. This is a 1959 Renault Dauphine. But in the 70s, when the big gas shortage was on in the 1970s, I worked at Bell Laboratories, and there was a group there that worked on batteries. The telephone company used a lot of batteries, and they were experimenting with electric trucks for the telephone company. And this department, I knew some of the fellows in there, and one of the fellows in there got a hold of some of these Renaults. There was a group of them that were never sold as new cars. They were all brand new in the sense that they'd never been on the road. And we were able to get them and found a garage that would take all the engines out, the gas engines. They weren't very good gas engines anyway, and convert them. We put electric motors in, and one of the engineers in the battery department designed a switching system for an accelerator deal, and fixed them up, and we ran them. There was 12 golf cart batteries in there, 6 in the front where the trunk had been, and 6 in the back where the engine had been. And they.
So how far could you go?
Well, about 45 miles was the limit you could go. You could take it home at night, plug it in the garage, and next morning it was ready to go. And it was a round-town car to go to work, to go to the store. It wasn't a business car, and it had about a 40-mile-an-hour top speed. But if you got near the end of the battery life in a day, you better not get onto a good hill because it wouldn't go up the hill. I got stuck once. My wife had to come and tow me home.
Well, let's get into some more conventional.
Well, here's a car, too. This is unusual. This is a 1936 car called an Alvis. It's a British sports car. And you notice the side mount, the spare tire's in the fender. Some of these other older ones were in the fender, too, like that. That's where they carried the spares. That car was a very low production car made in England, and they never sold any in this country new. A few were brought over here like this for collectors, but they were, they raced these cars. This car, I don't know a particular one, but this model was raced on the road racing tracks in Europe in the 1930s. So they were.
Was it right-hand drive?
Right-hand drive. You're going down the road, and everybody's looking, where's the driver? On the other side. Then we start with a Rolls Royce. That's a 1934. They called it a baby Rolls. They made 2 sizes of Rolls. They started in about 1930 to make this smaller model. Same quality car. But smaller engine, a smaller car physically. I don't know whether people didn't want to look so ostentatious when they were driving their Rolls Royce or what.
So what are these that we're looking at?
Now this is a 1912 Overland. It's called an Overland. You notice that the radiator and headlights and the frame around the windshield are brass. They call them brass cars, or the brass age. All the cars were made in those days with that, and you had to keep polishing all the time because brass tarnishes very easily.
Yeah.
But that was a 4-cylinder car. You had to crank it. It didn't have a starter. And it would crank
I
it to
see
start.
the crank. There's the crank right in front.
And that was a lot of fun to drive. It was a right-hand drive too. Those early American cars were right-hand drive cars too. This tank is for the gas for the headlights. The headlights were gas operated. Wow. They had a little burner in there, and you open up the front, turn the gas on, and light it with a match. And didn't make very much light, but you could see the car anyway.
Well, we've got one more here.
That was okay. This is a 1930 Model A. That's a convertible coupe. And I bought that in 1991. Now, I bought my first Model A in 1941. I paid $15 for it. It was 12 years old. I bought this one in 1991, 50 years later, and it was fully restored, just looked like it came out of the factory. I paid $15,000 for it. And I drove it for about 7 or 8 years, and that was the last antique car I had. But it's been a great hobby, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Never had more than maybe 2 at a time. I never had a lot of cars at one time. But
well, Phil, it's been fun going through your collection here. There's lots of adventures and lots of memories. And if you have memories with your automobiles or any kind of vehicle, let us know here at Shell Point TV. We want to hear your stories. So till next time, this is Phil Steen and Jared Pike with Hot Wheels. Have a great day.
Anna Smith of Finemark Bank gave us some tips on credit cards and debit cards.
Hello, I'm Anna Smith, Managing Executive for Finemark National Bank and Trust on the island. In today's Finemark Minute, we are taking a look at the differences between a credit card and a debit card and how one may offer more protection in the case of fraud. In late 2013, we heard about the massive security breach at Target stores, where the account information of more than 40 million customers was stolen. The thieves were able to obtain information from credit cards and debit cards, and while credit and debit cards look alike, their features are very different, and here's how. You should consider a debit card as an alternative to cash. The charges are automatically deducted from a linked bank account when you make a purchase. If your card is stolen and used, the stolen money will not go back into your account until the claim is investigated. For the Target breach, for example, if your debit information was breached and money was taken, it was taken directly from your checking account and you would be out the cash until the situation was resolved. On the other hand, If you paid by credit card, the money does not come out of your checking. Instead, it comes from a third party, and then at the end of each month, you pay directly to your credit card company. So if you suspect fraudulent activity, you aren't immediately out the cash, and you can contest a charge before paying. Therefore, a credit card offers more protection than a debit card. When FineMark learned of the security breach at Target, we immediately investigated to find out which clients made purchases at Target during the time of the breach. We then canceled their existing debit cards and reissued new ones. We wanted to make sure no money was taken from our clients fraudulently. Other financial institutions suggested cardholders monitor their accounts for any unauthorized activity, which is always good practice. If you have any questions about the differences between credit or debit or how we handled the Target security breach, you can call us on the island at 461-5999 or stop by and talk with us in person. With today's FineMark Minute, I'm Anna Smith.
Paul Peterson is a big movie buff, and he chooses a different selection every month for his Sunday movie matinee. Hi everybody, it's Jared Pike here with Shell Point TV with Paul Peterson, and we're talking about the Sunday matinee movie, which you might not even know existed. But let's find out. Paul, what exactly is the Sunday matinee movie?
We started it about 5 years ago. And we have a movie generally on the second or third Sunday of the month. And it starts at 2:30, and that enables people who take the bus from the island to the Woodlands to make the movie. Mm-hmm. And so we get more people come that way. Then another thing that invites them to come and be welcomed is Bob and Marion Britz, who've worked with me for all these years. Take care of the popcorn and the soda to serve each one. So
those are always good.
So that's enjoyable also.
So Paul, these are movies that are played on Sundays. Where did these movies come from?
Well, over the years I've enjoyed many movies, and I've purchased DVDs of them now. So I have probably over 100 of my favorite movies, and that's what we show.
And it's kind of a broad mix. There's not one specific kind. Tell us what kinds of movies you enjoy.
Well, last Sunday we had House Calls with Walter Matthau and Art Carney, so that's about the ultimate you get in comedy. Then we have serious drama, and some usually once or twice a year I show sort of a so-called World War II era, like Stalag 17 or something like that. So we have a wide variety of movies.
So you have comedies, you have dramas, and you have, now there's several different movies that are shown at Shell Point. There's one on the island that's classic movies, and then at the Woodlands they show current movies or up-to-date movies. Yours kind of falls in between.
Yes, we show movies probably from the early 40s to the present. Mm-hmm. That's the span of which they've been made in. So, yes.
And it's free.
It's free, yes.
Popcorn and sodas
right.
are included. That's always important.
Right.
And these are worth watching. I mean, some of them are a little obscure, but they're all worth watching. They're all excellent films. And we're going to talk about the one that's coming up in April. Now, what brought you to select your movie in April?
Well, it's the 450th birthday of William Shakespeare. Ray Boyce gave an excellent 3-session program on introduction to Shakespeare and various plays, and showed scenes from those plays, and it was excellently done. And so we thought we'd dovetail on that and put out Hamlet in the 1948 version by Laurence Olivier.
Which won the Oscar?
Which won the Oscar for Best Actor and Best Picture of the year.
Now, we were talking about it. You need to remind people that this isn't a 4-hour-long epic version, so you don't need to hunker down to watch it. Tell us about this version of Hamlet.
Well, this version is 2.5 hours, play, this entire play, is generally around 4 hours. So we think that that's probably a little more than the audience could stand. But it's all the essentials of the full Hamlet are there. The great scenes of the various soliloquies that he has with himself, debating certain things, and the scene at the grave where he takes Yorick's skull and looks at it and talks about, alas, poor Yorick, I knew you well, and talks about the fallibility of the human kind, and in soliloquies also examines big decisions that we have to make in our life and what they mean to us.
And of course, Olivier, you can't get better than him.
No, you can't. You sure can't.
So let's recap. Sunday, April 13th, Hamlet with Laurence Olivier is playing in the Grand Cypress Room at 2:30. So people from the island can come on the bus, people from the Woodlands and Eagles Preserve can come. And these Sunday movie matinees happen every month, right?
Yes,
every month. Every month it's a different film. You can see it in the Shell Point Life magazine or in the Weekly Reminder. But we encourage you to come because it's free and there's popcorn and sodas.
Yes.
There's a good enough reason to come to anything.
Right.
So, for Paul Peterson, this is Jared Pike, Shell Point TV. We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in next week for more stories and news from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of April 11th, 12th, and 13th. I'm Jared Pike, and from all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday.